You know, I was thinking about my upbringing and my childhood, and it's something that we don't outgrow pain. We just don't. And a lot of people will be like, well, you're in your 50s. Why are you still talking? Because it affects you for life, especially when you think about it. And getting older doesn't mean you don't need your parents or you don't want your parents. I mean, I wanted to be somebody's little girl my whole life. I wanted a parent who adored me, who loved that I was artistic and talented and smart, intelligent. But I had parents who were hateful, vengeful, spiteful. They didn't want us to achieve anything beyond what they achieved. And I think that's part of the problem, is that they were intimidated by our intelligence. My brother and I were both very smart people. I got great grades until high school, and then I was just an adolescent going through things, but not to my parents. I was the devil, and I was there to destroy their lives. They couldn't handle childish emotions from their children. We're not here we're not assigned to be parents, or we don't have children so that we can break them. They're not wild horses. It's your job to nourish your child, to nourish their accomplishments, to encourage them, to see them grow. And my adopted parents just did not want to do that. They didn't have that in them to be good parents. They were never meant to be parents, just literally should not ever have had children. And I understand that some people go through a lot worse abuse than we did. But it was my abuse. It was our abuse. It's what we went through, and it was unfair. And I was thinking recently, because we were watching something. I think I was watching that shit about Ruby Frankie or whatever. And I remember getting whipped so hard that I had welts up and down my legs, on my belly, just across my abdomen, across my buttocks, down my legs. So bad, with a fresh green hickory, as Daddy called it. But he would literally beat the hell out of us and then mock us as we tried to get away from the whips. And it wasn't 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. In the 5th grade, my teacher, our 5th grade teacher, would make us lay down for a nap in the middle of the day. And I had a skirt and a blouse, and I was laying down. And up until then, my skirt had been down below my knees just a little bit, about halfway below my knees. And I was laying there. My teacher came over to me and whispered, "Come with me." And she took me to the back. It was actually an area where they paddled the kids when they were misbehaving. It was like an old-timey doctor's division, with the little curtain and the metal frame. And she took me back there, and there was another teacher back there waiting. And I think we had 2 teachers at the time, and we would switch between them. But anyway, both of my teachers were back there, and they were very kind and sympathetic, and they looked so sad. The look in their eyes, I was like, what is going on? And the first teacher that called me back there, she said, "Renee, what's on your legs?" And I looked around, and I had not realized that you could see just welts, like maybe 30, 40 welts on each leg. He beat the shit out of me. I don't even remember for what. I mean, I was in 5th grade. I was like 11. And I just held my head down, because we'd been told we don't tell on our parents. I have no idea what's going on with my eye, by the way. But I held my head down, and she said, "Did you get a whooping?" I shook my head, yes. And they called my parents in. And this was before see something, say something, mandatory reporting and all that. If it was there, they didn't use it. But my parents were called in, and they had a discussion. And my teacher, I absolutely loved her. Miss Patterson was this black lady, and probably back then in her 40s. She had big boobies, just like you could sit a cup on them. But we loved Miss Patterson. She was so sweet. She basically told my dad, if she ever comes in the classroom with those kind of welts on her legs again, we're going to have a problem. And because Daddy was adamant, that's my child. I whipped her. She needed a whipping. You don't ever need to take it that far with a child. You do not ever need to take it to the point. I had bleeding welts on my legs. That's not love. But anyway, my point is, after having 5 children, and I haven't been perfect, I almost mimicked my parents sometimes with my 2 older children. But I started, the more kids I had, the more understanding I had. And the softer I became with them. And I hate it when people say, I believe in capital punishment. Then let's beat your ass with a stick. How about if you don't perform well at work, you don't make production, how about your boss takes you out back and whips you with a green hickory till you're just sobbing, crying, you can't breathe? And my daddy found that hilarious. Hilarious. And I was just a kid who needed help. I was not a baby when I was adopted. I was almost 5 years old and already had suffered horrendous abuse from 2 of my cousins, my older cousins. So I needed their love and understanding. I just can't get over that they adopted us. The state of North Carolina had them sign an agreement that they'd be our parents. And they didn't know anything about nurturing, not a damn thing. Next time you want to beat your youngins, put yourself in their place. Put yourself in their place. I was a child with mental health issues, behavior issues, and I needed help. And school officials actually said that over the years. And when help was given, I was told what I could and could not tell a guidance counselor or a therapist. And if I did, I was removed from that therapy. Beating the hell out of a kid is not going to change their behavior. So, anyway, deuces.